Group dynamics and individual differences in sports psychology. The following presentation will discuss the importance of understanding individual differences in sports, followed by looking at the role individual differences play in a specific psychological construct, mental toughness. Group dynamics will then be explored and possible strategies to enhance group dynamics in sports teams, concluding with examples of successful and less successful applications of group dynamics in sports. Scientific research, theories and tests have led to the application of psychological interventions in sporting environments to enhance athletes' performances. Recent studies in expert performances support the proposition that acquired psychological skills differentiate successful athletes from other competitors. There is now overwhelming literature detailing the effective use of coping strategies, imagery, goal setting, anxiety control, self-efficacy interventions, amongst many others, to enhance sporting performances. However, is the process of implementing these psychological interventions on individuals or teams really as easy or straightforward as some of the literature implies? Thomas and Fogarty in 1997 argued that in a considerable amount of intervention studies exploring these psychological strategies, researchers failed to acknowledge the role of individual differences. Personal processes within each athlete means they respond differently to certain situations. Some athletes thrive under the pressure of competition, while others choke. Pre-competition anxiety may be perceived as facilitative to performance or detrimental. Motivational orientations vary, as well as coping strategies employed. Some individuals choose to let out emotions, while others cope by increasing effort. Smith 2006 recognised that the goal of the sports psychologist is to identify how individual difference variables influence behaviour and devise an appropriate intervention to help them improve performances. For example, Thomas and Fogarty in 1997 recognised that people with high verbalising tendencies respond better to self-taught training techniques, whereas high visualisers respond more effectively to imagery and modelling training. For example, Wayne Rooney and Michael Owen are both very successful Premiership footballers, playing at international level in the forward position. However, they both have very different approaches when playing football. Rooney is characterised by letting out his emotions under pressure, often frustration and anger, and would therefore benefit from an intervention aimed at implementing approach coping strategies, such as self-talk technique, to prevent emotional outbursts. On the other hand, this would be inappropriate for Michael Owen, who is perceived as a more reserved player, plagued by injuries, who would possibly benefit more from strategies aimed at increasing his self-confidence, possibly through imagery. It is clear from this example that despite both players being elite from the same sport, playing the same position, they possess very different individual differences which need to be considered. Gill and Williams 2008 stated how individual differences reflect our personality. Therefore, a considerable amount of research has been dedicated to understanding the personality traits that distinguish the elite athletes from the less successful. The most widely accepted model of personality is the Big Five theory, proposed by Costa and McCree in 1992. These 5 factors of personality have been found to account for the majority of individual differences that exist in people. Neuroticism is characterised by nervousness and anxiety. Extravision is enthusiasm and sociable. Openness to experience is a need for variety and originality. Agreeableness is characterised by modesty and trust, and conscientious is achievement striving and self-discipline. However, prior to this research, Jung in 1971 recognised that each individual's personality is unique, and it would be impossible to reduce people down to pure types that fit neatly within a simple classification, a concept widely accepted by researchers today, for example Williams 2006. Therefore, it is vital sports psychologists recognise the importance of understanding individual differences and working with clients to ensure the appropriate intervention for the individual is employed. In a study conducted by Slater in 2002 regarding effective sports psychology, understanding the participants' perceptions and personality characteristics that contribute to their sense of identity emerged as the most important theme in the study. Although further research is needed to explore participants' perceptions of effective sports psychology too, the study supports the need to understand athletes' individual differences when offering psychological help. Williams 2006 added that understanding the individual differences of each athlete also means consultants are more likely to perform to form relationships with the athletes they work with. Imperative if the athlete is to trust and respect the psychologist and commit to the proposed intervention. Judge and Eli's 2002 stated that the only consistent thing about studies of individual differences is their inconsistency. This supports the need to approach each client with an open mind and understand their individual needs, goals, perceptions and learning styles. To further understand the importance of individual differences within sports psychology, the following slides will explore a specific psychological construct, mental toughness, and how it varies within athletes. The importance of this imperative construct has been well documented in previous literature, with Ghdadi, Gordon and Dimmock 2009 recognising that 83% of coaches rated it as the most crucial psychological attribute in determining competitive success. However, defining what this construct actually is has been subject to much confusion and contradictions amongst researchers. Early attempts to define and characterise mentally tough performers have been proposed by many authors. For example, the possession of superior mental skills, the ability to cope with or handle pressure, stress and adversity, or possibly harsh experiences toughened one's spirits to endure the dilemmas of life and success is achieved through effort. However, Cross 2008 illustrated how the majority of these definitions emerge from anecdotal evidence, the lacking scientific rigour and are also full of contradictions. To provide some clarity to this subject, Jones, Hansen and Connaughton 2002 conducted interviews with elite athletes to devise the following definition. Mental toughness is having a natural or developed psychological edge that enables you to generally cope better than your opponents with the many demands that sports places on the performer, and specifically be more consistent and better than your opponent in remaining determined, focused, confident and in control under pressure. 12 attributes are also offered to describe the makeup of mental toughness. This work provided a positive starting point for future mental toughness research. However, Crest 2007 suggested that such problems in the previous literature regarding a mental toughness definition may have in part been due to individual differences, and the fact that the term mental toughness may have various meanings to different athletes in different sports. Following the work of Jones and colleagues in 2002, several frameworks were developed detailing how this important construct mental toughness is developed in athletes, with Connaughton, Hansen and Jones in 2010 most recently providing an overview of how mental toughness training programs can be devised. However, is it really possible to devise a mental toughness framework applicable to all sports and individuals? Cross in 2007 questioned whether the mental toughness of a darts player is likely to be the same as a rower who has to endure long endurance training sessions and physical pain. Ignoring individual differences is not only detrimental to mental toughness research, but also the ability to develop the construct in each individual athlete. Their own perceptions of mental toughness need to be accounted for and the needs of the sport, making it difficult to develop a generic framework applicable to all sports and individuals. Woodman and Hardy 2001 recognised that many sports are played in teams, yet the focus of sports psychology research has been principally focused on individuals. As teams are a prevalent part of sport, it is imperative research understands the dynamics of sport teams. Beauchamp, McLaughlin and Lawson in 2005 described groups as highly complex entities, with each group member contributing a unique set of psychological attributes and therefore potentially providing numerous group functioning problems. Karen, Horsenbluth and Ives in 2005 offered the following definition of a sports team: a collection of two or more individuals who possess a common identity, have common goals and objectives, share a common fate, exhibit structured patterns of interaction and modes of communication, hold common perceptions about group structure, are personally and instrumentally independent, reciprocate the interpersonal attraction, and consider themselves to be a group. Williams in 2006 recognised it as the job of the sports psychologist to increase the effectiveness of groups, facilitating a sense of we and reducing the importance of I through understanding group dynamics. Head basketball coach at the University of Connecticut, John Cowhall, emphasised the importance of achieving group dynamics in your sports team. If you have ever wondered why the most talented teams don't win, here's the reason. Chemistry is what's up. Team's nuclei, their bonding and combustion, stable elements and volatile ones, the critical nature of the mix, and what Connecticut coach Jim Cowhall calls the vapour that just sort of hangs over a team. A team may be comprised of exceptional individual players, However, when their individual differences interact in a group, they may not always be immediately compatible. To reiterate the importance of understanding group dynamics, Byes in 1978 and more recently Gill and Williams in 2008 recognised the possible negative outcomes of being involved in a group. Social loafing may occur, which is a reduction in individual effort when working in a group. Self-deception is when an individual begins to hold greater importance in what the group believes than their own values and beliefs. Conformity is feelings of pressure to fit in with the group norms. Groupthink is where the group makes decisions based on the first suggestion, responding to normative pressure. Critical analysis is lost as less options are considered. De-individualization is also possible, where the individual loses self-awareness and disconnects from their usual beliefs, influenced by possible negative group attitudes such as cheating and drug abuse, leading to ineffective group functioning and a decrease in performance. Personality characteristics of group members play an important role in determining their behaviour in groups. The study of personality has an important role to play in group dynamics, providing a valuable insight into how team members both influence and are influenced by those around them. Personality traits of specific individuals have the ability to disrupt the effective functioning of a team. For example, Buchamp and Ives in 2007 recognised that if one member doesn't pull their weight, this can create tension amongst the team and potentially lead to other team members following in their footsteps. The researchers went on to explain how emotions of team members are also easily transferred. For example, individuals who let out their emotions and fail to manage anger can cause frustration, even brawls amongst the team, whereas joyous, motivated individuals can promote a sense of increased effort and persistence in the team. To address the issue of personalities in groups, Buchamp and Ives 2007 emphasised the importance of athletes first needing to develop an acute understanding of themselves as well as the preferences of their teammates, which can be achieved through team-building interventions. Role-play activities and rope courses could be introduced designed to raise athletes' awareness and highlight the strengths and possible weaknesses each athlete brings to the team. Buchamp and colleagues in 2005 previous research agreed with this, stating that when members are acutely aware of their own and others' individual differences, behaviours can be adapted to meet the group's needs and enhance group functioning. McCrath 1984 defined roles as the expectations about patterns of behaviour for an individual in a particular social situation, and there are generally two categories. Roles can be formal, explicitly set out, as in the captain position, or informal, such as the comedian of the team, the member who can lighten the mood when needed, outlined by Williams 2006. Koch, Ives, Buchamp, Schenck and Bosselt in 2011 recognised a lack of literature exploring the importance of informal roles. However, their research justified informal roles to be just as important in promoting effective team functioning. Group roles are an essential part of group development presented by Tuckman and Jensen in 1977. However, if the roles and expectations of group members are not effectively communicated around the team, then team effectiveness will suffer. Karen and colleagues 2005 presented the following model to enhance role functioning. When issuing roles to group members, it is essential the individual is clear about what the role entails and are confident they can do it. Role conflict should be minimised through communication and negotiation. The individual is satisfied with their role within the team and agree to commit to it. Role performance is a behavioural aspect and actually performing the role. Cohesion is an area of sports psychology with extensive literature illustrating its association with improved team performances, supported by researchers such as Ayaka, Cox and McGuire 2008, Gill and Williams 2008, and Moran 2004, highlighting that it is also valued highly amongst coaches and athletes. Karen Broadley and Winmeyer 1988 define cohesion as the tendency for a group to stick together and remain united in the pursuit of its instrumental objectives and/or the satisfaction of member affective needs. Cox 2002 illustrated it as a multidimensional construct with two important dimensions, task and social. Task cohesion is the degree to which members of a team work together to achieve a specific and identifiable goal, while social cohesion is the extent to which members of the team like each other and form interpersonal bonds. Cohesion is a dynamic process which changes over time as a function of a number of variables, such as the degree of success or failure experienced by the team. Williams 2006 and sports psychologists suggest cohesion is positively related to desirable outcomes such as improved communication channels, increased effort amongst players, and enhanced team success. However, Moran 2004 questioned this research, arguing that successful team performances lead to a cohesive team, implying cohesion is a product of a successful team. Gill and Williams 2008 recognised that despite a considerable amount of research exploring cohesion in sports teams, the evidence does not consistently support the assumption a cohesive team will win more games. However, research does suggest cohesion offers benefits to sports teams and group members. Miller and Hunton 2009 suggested a strategy to improve team cohesion is team goal setting, as it directly influences performance via cohesion by providing a team focus which promotes intergroup communication and facilitates overall commitment and satisfaction. Athletes should be encouraged to write down a goal or what they want from the team individually and then share this with a team member to make comparisons. These partners are then put into small groups to carry out the same process and then eventually discussed with the whole team to derive a small number of team goals. This team goal setting technique was proven successful in Stevens and Bloom 2003 study of softball players, with the intervention increasing team cohesion. Crace and Hardy 1997 recognised the importance of simply getting to know team members as unique individuals to improve mutual respect and cohesion. This could be achieved by putting athletes in an informal, relaxed setting and encouraging them to find out something new about each other, a strategy also supported by Gill and Williams 2008. Communication is regarded as a critical aspect of team performances but can become problematic. People communicate through several different forms: intentional, unintentional, verbal, and non-verbal through body language or facial expressions, for example. Therefore, communication is a complex process involving interactions with people's perceptions of themselves, others, and the relationship between the two. First, the cognitions of the intended sender must be encoded as a message and sent via some channel. Second, the message must be received by the intended recipient. Third, the message must be decoded by the intended recipient and interpreted correctly. Communication can be disrupted at any stage. Ball and colleagues emphasise athletes and coaching staff must maintain open communication channels so that problems, suggestions and feedback can be discussed in a democratic environment. It is essential sports psychologists and the coaching team create opportunities for regular team meetings to openly and honestly discuss team-related issues. This was the strategy proven effective in Boyd and Callaghan's 2001 study of team functioning on uni soccer teams. Duchamp and colleagues in 2005 recognised the need for the sports psychologist to use a centralised approach to initiate discussions amongst group members if there are conflicts or a lack of communication in the team. This is where communication is made through one individual, preferably the sports psychologist, who will transfer messages amongst the team, discussing any misinterpretations and making people aware of their own communication channels, how they are interpreted, and the importance of the team communicating. Karen and colleagues in 2005 then encouraged informal social activities to encourage the team towards a decentralised communication channel where members sort out their own problems and become more comfortable with each other. There is extensive literature detailing the importance of group dynamics in sports teams, and this presentation has offered a number of strategies to help improve team functioning. However, Jones in 2002 recognised that there are countless examples of teams with repeatedly the best individual talent and ability, which still continue to fall short of performance. The English football team are a common victim to this, and their World Cup campaign in South Africa last year was an example of ineffective team functioning. The BBC in 2010 described them as a team comprised of some of the best football players in the world, consistently performing for their individual club teams, but when playing together for the nation, repeatedly fall short of expectations. Sky Sports in 2010 reported England were previously a confident team, qualifying easily for the 2010 World Cup finals. However, when arriving in South Africa, they struggled to perform under the pressure, with costly mistakes, frustration, rumoured conflicts, and a large defeat by the Germans to send England out of the World Cup, having only reached the quarter-finals. Park in 1998 recognised how football clubs remain highly restrictive organisations, and no social researcher would be allowed access to explore the possible group dynamics issue amongst the English team. Therefore, it can only be suggested that interventions aimed at increasing cohesion and communication channels, to address group dynamic problems amongst the team would be beneficial from what has been observed in the media and coverage of matches. In contrast to this is the England rugby team, who won the World Cup in 2003 under the management of Sir Clive Woodward. View Campani's 2007 reported how the team recognised the importance of group dynamics in the years running up to the World Cup final. Sir Clive Woodward referred to the destructive influence of energy sappers, individual members who deplete or weaken the team, who, if they cannot be directed to energisers, need to be cut from the team. In the final against Australia, Malou and Hampton 2009 reported how the game was tied at 17-all in the final 25 seconds of the game. In a breathtaking finale, Matt Dawson spun the ball out of the England line-out to Johnny Wilkinson. While under great pressure, Wilkinson dropped the ball to his feet and executed a stunning drop goal to clinch the game and seal England's name in the history books as the first Northern Hemisphere side to win the Rugby World Cup. When Wilkinson was asked to reflect on the kick to the BBC in 2003, he stated, "We had a clear routine of how we'd get a drop goal. It went just absolutely like clockwork. That's why you win the big games. We had a huge feeling of togetherness." Although there are many questions researchers would ask in an attempt to understand the routine, it is clear that England rugby had established exceptional group dynamics in the build-up to the World Cup, allowing them to perform under exceptional pressure. In conclusion, it is imperative that sports psychologists take individual differences into account when applying psychological interventions, as each athlete has a unique personality and response to situations. Ignoring individual differences is also detrimental to future research. Group dynamics enhance team function, and strategies to improve them should be a part of every team's schedule, as was shown to be critical to success in the Rugby World Cup finals of 2003.